Before we get into the controversy from the last installment and finally replying to old comments, I have a question that's been nagging me for years, never been able to answer it, and it's kind of relevant to everything that's going to be discussed afterwards. Why is it that ads are trying to make me hate their products? Aren't advertisers supposed to be the master manipulators controlling our minds, convincing us that we need to buy something that we absolutely never need to buy? We'll be completely happy for the rest of our lives, having never spent one penny on it nor a second of our time thinking about it. We would be perfectly fine, but they convince us that we must buy this thing right away. That's always been the business model, right? Why is it that they are making me hate them now? Is this some new kind of reverse psychology making me hate them so that even though I never buy their product ever, I will somehow be tricked into giving them money later on down the road for a different reason? I mean, some of the platforms like YouTube, this platform, they've done that trick now. They've spammed us with so many ads that we can't plan around. They come at random times for random amounts of time. So it's not like the old good old TV days where we knew we had a 4 minute chunk of commercials that we can get up and take a break from the show we're watching. These are all completely random, hard to plan around, hard to skip. So what they did was they made us hate ads so that we would actually pay YouTube more money to have no ads. What a trick. People fall for it all the time. So many people have fallen for that trick. It's amazing. But how does an advertiser making me hate their product lead me to giving them money, which is the only thing they care about? All they want is my money. They don't give a fuck about me as a person or how my welfare. You see, like the big thing now is that they're preying on lonely men. All of the products are designed to get the money out of the pocket of the lonely man who can't find love, sitting all by himself staring at a screen. I mean, it's been that way for a while, but it seems to be with the way technology is advancing, there is an increasing number of lonely men. Probably lonely women too. I just see more examples of the lonely men. But I'll give you a couple examples. I have waited my whole life for a good game that takes place in outer space. And I saw the first 3 seconds of an ad for a new game that takes place in outer space in 2024. And just by the slow shot of the footage that they were showing, I thought in that 3 or maybe 4 seconds, wow, could this be the game I've always been waiting for my whole life? Finally, a good space game? And then the narrator came in and said, "You are not ready for this game." And immediately, at the 4 second mark, this could be the game that I've always been looking for my whole life. To the 5 or 6 second mark after the narrator said that, immediately to my significant other, "No, yeah, okay, yeah, I believe you. You know what? You're right. I'm not ready for this game. I never will be. I'm never going to spend a penny on it, nor a second of my time, even if it's for free. Good luck with sales." And I told my significant other, "Remember this. Never buy this space game that came out. Never buy any space game. They killed the whole market. Never buy any space game that came out in 2024 because I'm not ready for it. They said I'm not ready for it. I appreciate that. I appreciate them telling me I'm not ready for their game. And I'm just going to go ahead and assume, since I'm a busy man, that I never will be." So think of the achievement there. An ad within a space of 2 seconds went from making me think it was the video game I've always been waiting for my whole life to I'm never going to spend a penny on any game in this genre that I know came out this year because of that's when the ad was released for the new game that I'm not ready for. Is it just what was so unlikable about that? Was it the tone of this is so obvious that I'm afraid to even tell you because you might get mad at me? It's like speaking down to me. I know this, I know what's good for you, and I'm afraid to tell you because even though I'm above you, I'm a pussy. It's just such a hands in the air. I'm just saying. Is it that tone? Is it the blatant reverse psychology? It's not even reverse psychology. It's like reverse psychology to such an extent that it's double reverse psychology. It makes you hate the reverse psychology. So, how does that sell a game? Aren't they supposed to be the master manipulators? There was another one it was that same kind of tone of you're not ready for this game. It was about a phone advertising whatever the latest phone is from another company, and they probably, I don't even remember, but they probably had the stupid ASMR clicking sounds in the background for no reason. And the narrator came on and said, I'm just going about the business, doing my dishes, listening to some podcasts or whatever. And this ad comes on. If it seems like you've had your phone forever, then maybe it's time to get a new phone. It's like, no, maybe that means I have a good phone that it's lasted so long, it feels like I've had it forever. Wow, in the modern age, I have a product that seems like it's lasted forever. I got to hold on to this phone. This is a rare good phone because look at all these new phone companies. They just want you to apparently replace your phone every 6 months because they don't build them to last any longer than that. They think just because you feel like you've had a phone for too long that you should buy a new one. Who are these people and who are they advertising to? How much disposable income do they have? And that they're willing to waste on just another new phone that they don't even need. When they've had their phone that they have is such good quality that it feels like they've had it forever. That's a great phone. Why would you get rid of it? So I think the psychology there is that I think it's geared towards young people, inexperienced people who don't have the guidance of, someone who's already seen these tricks. That's what they are. They're tricks, trying to trick you into buying their thing. Like, that's going to go into an undeveloped, as no, that sounds like it's an insult, but just, a not yet developed mind. And they're not experienced with the complexity of these mental tricks where they're saying something different than what they really mean just to manipulate you into doing something that if they were honest with you, they know you would never do from common sense. So they have to do these mental tricks and wordplay to get around the common sense in these tones. So I think the reason it's so annoying to me personally is because I've already been seeing these tricks and I know how despicable the people who use them are, how selfish and how uncaring they are to the people they're trying to get money from. And that's the deal. It's not that advertiser has changed. It's that I've changed. It's that I've changed. I've caught on to their tricks because I've gotten older and experienced. So we really need to keep the younger generations on the ball with this stuff so they don't fall for these tricks. Of course, there is also the solution that no one's going to fall for is just don't consume the content that has ads, but everyone's addicted because the actual masters of mind control have convinced all of us that we need to consume content that has ads. So anyway, moving on with this content, the controversy from the last installment in this series, finally replying to old comments, part 26. I did about 12 to 15 minutes on the Riyadh Comedy Festival and the criticisms that the performers were getting for performing there for the corrupt government. how the critics of that decision were pointing out all the hypocrisies of the performers, many of which were true, as I covered. I'm not going to rehash the whole thing. I'll just summarize here. And what I was pointing out was that none of those critics were giving a solution, making them bigger hypocrites than the performers that they were criticizing. The performers may very well be hypocrites who simply sold out all of their principles. Everything that they complain about in their culture, the Western world, is even worse, but the price was right over in Saudi Arabia, so they can just put all that aside and go over there with a smile and perform like a monkey. I don't know why any of the comedians actually performed over there, or if they're even hypocrites. But I do know that they, as I elaborated on in the last installment, they are actually contributing to the solutions of those problems over there. Whereas the critics of those performers are contributing to the problems, making them bigger hypocrites than the performers. So I got a few comments here that are short that were related to that from that video. User UC5GK5CT8J said, I can't see the screen. Next up, Cog the Protogen 6671 said, that guy can't see the screen. Next up, XEZPR said, send help to the guy who can't see the screen. Next up, Brock Glock 3035 said, maybe the old comments was the screen along the way. And finally, Straight Syrup said, are we sure that guy can't see the screen? He could be lying. And that is so fitting. So fitting that in the comments section, someone would be lying and presenting themselves other than what they really are. Much like the advertisers who were trying to use reverse psychology on the younger generations, the younger people that they think are too stupid to see through it. So younger people, please don't fall for that stupidity. Please don't give them your money. So the reason that's all relevant is because none of their comments were actually about the situation. Nothing that was mentioned in the video was pertaining to their comments. And why weren't any of the comments about what was discussed in the video? Because everything that needed to be said was already said. So, moving on to the main event of this series, which is the comment section, replying to the comments. We're up to the comment section of his master plan revealed, part 11. And the next comment is, how much time we got? From Sally Ann Lines, or Sally Anna Lines, I don't know. It's all a website name, so it's hard to say the actual names. Sally Anna Lines, who said, so do you want to come over to my house and check my macros? Laughing face emoji. Michael really makes me laugh throughout this whole sorry situation. Frowny face. That was pertaining to the excuse of Chris Watts, whose interrogation was the subject of the series, his master plan revealed. How when he actually later on in the prison interview, after the interrogation, he blew off his mistress's visit to his wife's house by saying, oh yeah, she was just over there to check my macros. And how that was just the extended version of his doublespeak. Again, like the advertisers and like the people in the comments, saying something different than what they really mean. Because what needs to be said out loud is already an unspoken known. They already know it. So to them, so you want to like come over to my house and check my macros? And the mistress saying, sure, I'll come over and check your macros. That's all we're going to do. They know what they're really going to do. They know why they're really going to his house. And it didn't need to be said. So they just came up with a separate thing to say, a separate reason that they're going to the house, because they think they're at such a low level that they think that kind of a doublespeak is like superior to other people, that they're getting away with something. That's what really inferior people do to feel valuable, is they try to get away with things that, like, in order for them to succeed at it, somebody must be getting fooled for them to feel valuable, rather than actual valuable people who work together with others and achieve things where the sum total is greater than the individual parts. That's actual valuable people. Worthless people try to trick others to feel like they got away with something because it makes them have the delusion that they're smarter. But I'm glad you thought that was funny, Sally Anna Lines. Next up, Shauna Deo said, "You are spot on about NK, the mistress. I don't see her getting her hands dirty either. She may not have been physically involved, but she was definitely manipulating him." Well, I agree with that. What about that song she wanted to know the lyrics of? Wasn't that after the murders, but before anyone knew? I think that was like their sign that the job was done. Once she realized he actually did it, she started covering her own tracks, deleting messages, making sure she has her alibi Jim, telling CW to delete his messages, distancing herself from Chris, etc. You have good observations about these sickos. Thank you, Shauna Dale. And that would all go into, like, why would Chris, like, the way Shauna Dale is implying there is that Chris and the mistress worked together, that they had a secret sign, hey, the job is done, kind of the same as, hey, you want to check my macros? Where they're talking about stuff that's not what actually happened, but they both know what they really mean. Double speak that makes them feel inferior or feel superior because they're actually inferior. But why would he go along with that? And, like, if she's saying, covering her tracks, hey, delete all your messages because I don't want to be involved with this. If she's implying that, why would he just go along with that and not involve her? So I do agree with the manipulation. I agree that she was manipulating him to some extent. Maybe, like, I don't think it was anything concrete in her head. I think she was just curious about what she can get him to do, and that was like the appeal of the relationship to her, this married guy with kids. What can she get him to do? How far can she get him to go? And then when she realized she might get in trouble, yeah, she has her alibis. I actually think Jim being over there that day was part of Chris's urgency to do the thing, even though it wasn't going the way he intended it to, and he should have called it off because there were delays, and it wasn't ideal for him to risk the rest of his future going to prison. So I think that the fact that Jim was going to be over there that day, Chris knew about that, and he was like, I have to do something to get her attention right away to compete with Jim, because Jim was this guy from her past, and a lot of guys know how that is when a woman that they're with brings up a guy from her past, or brings the guy from her past back into their life just to play one against the other. But I'm also open to the fact that Jim was simply an alibi. Just based on everything else discussed in this video and previously in this series, it doesn't really, there isn't enough evidence that I can, like, sign off on that. But thanks for the comment. Next up, got a few minutes left. 38 Maddie said, "Hey, I found a nugget of truth. Chris threw his dad under bus. He told Tammy about his dad's drug problem in pre-polygraph, and then later his dad was in prison group call and chimed in that the press was bad and unfair." Yeah. That's their revisionist history. That's their revisionist history. That Chris was actually the first one to out that. The reason the press knew about it was because of Chris saying it publicly. And then later on, and like you said, in the prison phone calls, the family, Chris's parents, were blaming the press. Once again, absolving Chris of all responsibility, just like they did with his murders, just like they did with his affair. They always find someone else to blame for it. We can kind of see how Chris's brain developed to thinking that murdering the people that loved and trusted him the most in the world was an okay thing to do, and not any reason to feel any remorse later on. But not to blame them. I mean, that's bad parenting. However, it's still 100% Chris's responsibility to develop to an age where he should say there's something wrong with these people. I don't want to follow their example, like many, many, many other kids do. Kids should not be judged by their parents, and vice versa. If you're looking at something like the Grant Amato case, the parents should not be judged by the kid. At least once they're adults. I mean, what a parent forces the kid that's still under their care to do, that's a different story. But if we're talking about parents and their adult children, they should not be. You should not blame one for the other. All right, continuing on with 38 Maddie's comment. Chris changed the subject on the call. No one was safe from CW wrath. Quote, I didn't know what else to do. Yeah, it's the great thing. If you just knew Chris in real life, which is why I kind of give a free pass to the people who did know him in his real life, they would only get small snippets of these lies, and there was no reason to interrogate him on every little lie he told. So, and also he wasn't covering up a murder that we know of. So you ever get that feeling of someone you only know a little bit? They kind of allude to something and you're like, what's going on in that person's life? But you're like, I'm not going to pry because it's not my business. I don't know what they're talking about. I have a long list of things to do today and tomorrow and the rest of the week. And I don't know that there's reason to launch an investigation on this person that I only know moderately well with no evidence of what they actually did. But I'm just going to avoid this. I'm going to avoid this issue because I don't know what it is and how it doesn't pertain to me. So, yeah, that's what the interrogation is great at, showing just how much a person is willing to lie. We saw a lot of that with. That's why the Chris Watts footage and the coverage of it was so popular, is just because there's so many examples, because he just wouldn't shut up. All right. I think I'm going to have to call it there. Yeah, that's it for now. Don't believe reverse psychology. Don't believe advertisers. Advertisers don't care about you. People presenting themselves as something other than they're not don't care about you. They're manipulating you. Don't fall for their manipulations. Ask someone that you trust. And I'll see you in part 28.